What's up, Halas Huddlers? We are back again. This offseason is upon us. We have so much to go through over the next few months before the season even starts. But before we even get to the season, what is ESPN thinking? They have some crazy trade scenarios that are being thrown out there regarding the Chicago Bears. We are going to talk about that and more in this episode of the Halas Huddle podcast. As always, I'm Rob Schwarz with Bear Goggles On. Tonight with me, I have my good friends and co-hosts, Justin Onayemi and Bob Weiss. This is the Halas Huddle, where we don't throw around stupid-ass clickbait trades.
Well, Rob, I think you're onto it right there. It's the time of year. There's not that much to go on, so people are just throwing things out. But that never happens here on the Halas Huddle, and you know that if you're a subscriber. We're trying to get to 2,000 subscribers. Please subscribe. It's nothing to you. It's everything to us. We love the support. In addition, like, comment, get the conversation going. We're going to throw our thoughts and opinions out there, but we'd love to hear yours. So with that, Bob, why don't you kick us off right away with some news and rumors?
Yeah, so first actual bit of news is that former first-round pick out of University of Iowa, AJ Epenesa, visited Halas Hall for a little workout, tryout, maybe physical. I don't exactly know the details of what went on, but I think that this is very telling, very important that this happened before OTAs. Usually OTAs go first, you see what the roster looks like, and then you go, oh crap, look, we need some help. But this happened before OTAs. So Rob, what are you thinking of this?
Yeah, I think it's great. Look, an Iowa guy, so like we're coming back to the Midwest from Buffalo, but a guy like he's not going to be a difference maker. If you're thinking he's going to come in and, help this team get to, 40 plus sacks this year, that's not going to happen. But what he is going to do is bring you 5-6 sacks as a rotational guy. And that's something that's very important to every single defense. Look, we talked about in another episode, Seattle didn't have a single guy hit 10 or double-digit sacks, right? 7 sacks was the most that they had. He can just help the Bears bring a little bit of extra pressure and hope that this defense can, find some magic that they didn't have in that area last year.
So I'm on record many times on this show saying that I would like them to go out and sign
Jadeveon
Clowney. However, Clowney, the last few years, has signed late. And to your point, Bob, this is a bit early for them to make a move like this. But Epenesa is, I believe he did sign a free agent deal, I think with Cleveland, was it? And it got voided because he failed the physical. So that's a little bit of a different situation. But what it also means is you probably could lowball him in terms of salary. So I think if you're just looking for a guy, to your point, Rob, to just throw in the room, yeah, you could get him. I feel like they have a lot of those guys. And so I'm looking for maybe a higher impact guy that might cost you a little more money. And that's not something the Bears have a lot of, even though we know they can create space and you can always make it work. If you're looking for a guy that's a little cheaper, who's done it before, I mean, I'd feel a little bit more confident in saying he's going to get 5 or 6 sacks than Shamar Turner or than Dio. So from that perspective, yes. But to just throw him into a room that's already got just guy after guy after guy, I don't know if it's the move.
So I do think it's the move because I think that this is, all in our comments, everybody wanted defensive end of the draft. The defensive end. Philip, kind of talking to you a little bit. I know how much you wanted defensive end of the draft. Other than that first round where Falk was still available and they went with safety Thieneman, like there wasn't another defensive end who projected to really make an impact. So why waste a pick on a defensive end who's not going to make an impact when you can get a starting center? You can get a tight end who's going to be on the field 30-40% of the snaps, who's a terrific athlete. When you can just sign a guy off the street like this to just be your rotational defensive end in the group. So I think it makes a lot of sense, whether it's Epenesa or whether it's Clowney, whether it's there's a couple other guys out there. I don't know, but I do think that this move is going to happen eventually, especially when they're telegraphing it before OTAs that maybe we need to kind of lock this guy up before other teams get their hands on.
So before we transition to a rumor that's out there, or also a little bit of news, something I just looked up that I was a little bit shocked at: Oak Park.
Oh yeah,
Kansas, Oak Park, Kansas.
Oh, I thought there's a guy who went to,
but he went to Edwardsville, Illinois high school. Okay, so he did go to high school here in Illinois. So he is a local guy.
Why are you playing with my emotions?
I'm like, oh my gosh.
There is a guy from Oak Park. I can't think of who it is, so I'll look it up.
Not Jadeveon Clowney.
No, he can live there now if he wants. Sign with the Bears. There's some good property in Oak Park.
That's right. Where there might be not so good property, though, is Arlington Heights, guys. Arlington Heights. Maybe you bought early.
Hey, whoa.
Maybe you bought some property early, and it might not pan out the way that you had hoped. Because, look, as of right now, we are a few days away from the end of May. That is when the spring session ends for the state of Illinois. And there is turmoil. There is so much back and forth and throwing people under the bus from a legislator standpoint, from a politician standpoint, from a treasurer standpoint. Maria Pappas is getting involved, getting on the radio and talking smack about what's going on with the Bears bill today. Look, this is just nonsense that has been going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Illinois is dropping the ball. Will they get it across the finish line before the end of May? We will have to wait and see. But if they don't, does that mean Chicago is necessarily going to Indiana? Look, I think the answer is that it's more likely that they go to Indiana if that doesn't go through. But don't forget, they can make it known that they will revisit this at the fall session if there is something particularly put in place for them to actually vote on come the fall. And will that be enough to dangle the carrot and continue the Chicago Bears path? Or is the NFL going to step in and push them to just say, look, enough is enough. We need to move on, go to Indiana, stop playing games. This is just got to end.
I guess it comes down to what you just said at the end there. Is the end of May just an artificial deadline? Because obviously it's when the Congress is going to break. And I know the NFL is putting pressure, but like at the end of the day, this is still a project that's going to take some time. Their lease is not up until 2032, I believe. You've already dragged your feet this long. It's just shocking to me that only now does it seem that Illinois wants to really look into all this when you've had nothing but time since this has been going on. But I guess to Bob's point in a previous episode, Bears actually did use Indiana as leverage. And part of using leverage is if they're going to call your bluff, you might actually have to go through with it. And that's what I'm curious to see, because June 1st could come and you could just say we're going to Hammond, but I don't know if reading the tea leaves, that doesn't seem like the announcement I'm going to hear on June 1st.
Yeah, so I mean, that's kind of the biggest question I have is it's kind of being built up as, all right, March or May 31st, it's going to be voted on or it's not. And if it's not voted on, that means the Bears have to go to Indiana. And I guess my question to that is just why? Like, Just you basically said it too. Like, why? What is the rush? You've already taken this long, and if you want to go to Arlington Heights, then you just wait until that happens, I suppose. The biggest reason was, you look like an idiot because you did all this stuff at Hammond, and then now the time is when you'd say, all right, well, fuck you, Illinois, I'm going to go to Indiana. Now would be the time to do that. But if that's not what you want to do and you were only using it for leverage, and Illinois is basically, I wouldn't give Illinois enough credit and say they're calling the bluff. It's more so it just takes Illinois forever to do anything. But, I don't think the Bears have to do anything if it doesn't come to an actual real vote and pass on the 31st.
Bob, the pressure is on. If they don't act now, how are they going to have shovels in the ground by 2025?
So part of the bill.
It is definitely an artificial.
85.
May 31st is a real deadline, right? Like people are commenting about it. Like I know Sports Mockery keeps putting it out there. Like it is a hard deadline. It is a hard deadline for the state of Illinois to pass bills. That said, again, there is some, leeway into what they can also do within the fall session, which is only like a 2-week session. It's very, very short. It's something that has to be already talked about and passed through and pushed to the point where there's not a lot of conversation going back and forth. So when you get to the fall, you better have something in the works if you're going to get it passed then. I don't really know for sure if that's even going to happen. Now, again, the rumor is that they are going to back out of the mega projects bill. The mega projects bill is a bill that was supposed to be for any mega project, $100 million in value or greater. The Chicago Bears Stadium project probably obviously falls into that. But in this case, they're now thinking maybe we just pull that back. Let's table this discussion for something in the future, because it does need to happen. As someone who is in property tax and deals with this on a daily basis, something needs to change. We keep losing business here in Illinois, and that's a big problem. A lot of it has to do with the way property taxes are structured. Something needs to change. Even from a residential standpoint, something needs to change. But if you can get more businesses in, guess what? More revenue means more tax dollars, also more income tax dollars, more payroll tax. I mean, there's so much that can happen from having revenue. So you don't want to lose those businesses, and you don't want to overtax everyone just because you're losing them. There's ways to make this work. And for me, it's a simplistic fact. And I put this out there today on social media, and then we can move on because I don't want to just make this a stadium episode. You guys got me riled up.
You put the outline together.
I know. I wasn't planning on getting this deep into it, but then my brain was like, look, I had Brian Costin on, and one thing that we disagree with, and Bob, you kind of hinted at maybe you do a little bit agree with, is that they do have a good stadium situation right now. And the fact that they have Soldier Field, there is no rush to get out of that stadium. The problem is that the Bears aren't earning any revenue from that, right? Like, they're only earning their standard NFL revenue. They're not earning any extra revenue. This is a mom and pop type franchise. They do not have the billions of dollars. And this is part of the reason why I think the Bears are viewed differently from the league itself than other teams, because they're not part of that 1% club of the NFL. They're part of the 1% club of America, but not the NFL. And they're kind of viewed down upon because of it. And we're going into a situation where it's really simple. And I don't understand why legislators are overcomplicating it, because look, the one thing I do agree with Brian Costin on is you should not allow that full value to hit the levy. So if you allow the Bears to say you're going to pay a pilot tax of $10 million, and you're currently paying about $4 million on the property now, you add those together, your property taxes are $14 million a year. Guess what? That's what SoFi just paid. Okay, their taxes went from 8.8 up to 14.1 or something like that. You're paying the same amount as the next largest stadium in NFL. Okay. If you were to take that, you can back into a value and figure out what that value is going to be. That should be the max that is put on the roll. You put a percentage on it, whatever that is. Maybe it's not even 100%. Maybe it's 80% of that value is put on the roll. That way it's protecting taxpayers who have to, who might be footing some of that bill. It's protecting them from not having to take on that extra tax dollars that the billionaires are now saving, that the Republicans, that the Brian Costins of the world, that the Mark Batnicks of the world, that they're all pushing for. There's ways to make this work, and I don't understand why we're overcomplicating it. And part of it, and this is maybe why the Bears bill should be just the Bears bill, because everyone's trying to throw all this other shit in it. And stop. This is how we run the whole freaking country.
Yeah, man, politics.
Stop. And I don't want to get into politics too much, but like from a just logical standpoint, stop making every bill into this large 300-page thing that you can't fucking read. Do one thing at a time.
If the Bears don't resolve this stadium thing soon, then I'm going to need to be traded off of the Halas Huddle podcast to a team that has a stadium, because I don't know. This gets you fired up, Rob. It just frustrates the hell out of me.
Yeah, I don't blame you. But you know what fires me up too, guys? Why is Cole Kmet being talked about in the fucking trade market again? That's where we're going to segue into this.
Good segue.
This button is not working, and now it's glitching again.
Here we go again.
Yeah, producer, not working very well here. Bob, what is going on with this Cole Kmet trade scenario from ESPN?
I have no idea. I woke up this morning, I saw an article when I opened up the ESPN app, and all of a sudden, Cole Kmet is one of the most 4 tradable players in NFL, apparently. I don't know why. The Bears are not going to trade him. They've basically designed their entire offensive philosophy over having 3 tight ends, and it just doesn't make any. Not only that, they restructured his contract where now there's very, very little benefit for the 2026 season to trading him. So I don't understand. This is something ESPN just must just had nothing to talk about. So let's get something that Bears fans are going to talk about, and here we are talking about it. But I do think what is kind of interesting is that the value for Cole Kmet is essentially a 2027, so next draft, 3rd or 4th round pick, which doesn't sound so terrible. So where are we at with that? Are we trading Cole Kmet because the return doesn't sound terrible, or are we staying true to the the path the Bears have, set for themselves.
So the reason it says "here we go again" is as soon as the Bears drafted Colson Loveland and Luther Burden, people could not wait to trade DJ Moore and Cole Kmet. And we've said this so many times on this show that as Bears fans, we're not used to like offense being what we're about, but like just because you have more than one of something doesn't mean you trade away what's there. Bob, you said it. Like the Bears intend to use all three of their tight ends. They think they have the best tight end room in the league, and they probably do, at least on paper. So why would you now get rid of a guy and have to now replace a leader on your team, a guy who's been productive for years and years and years, and not just productive in targets and catches, but he is a main part of your blocking schemes? Like, it does not make sense to me. However, the one thing I'll say is third round pick, other than the fact that the Bears are cursed in third round, that's high value. So from that perspective, I guess it's kind of cool to see that he would have that kind of value as a 29-year-old tight end. I mean, I wouldn't think that too many teams would pay that price, but I'm not looking to unload Cole Kmet unless we're talking going into the 2027 offseason. Just like DJ Moore was traded this offseason, I could more see it being entertained then. But for ESPN to bring it up now, as you're headed towards training camp, makes no sense.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned leadership because, look, Ryan Poles mentioned leadership. He mentioned it right before the draft in April, that when they restructured his contract, that he was going to be here, he's going to be a part of this team. Trading him now makes zero sense. Maybe at the trade deadline, depending on how things are going, he could be a trade option. But look, you're not going to know that. You're not going to know how that's going to play out until we get into the actual, week 5 of the NFL. 2027 is supposed to be a deeper draft class. So could he, potentially be a guy that they trade in the offseason? It's going to come down to how things, produce this year. But I just don't see the need or the want. You're not doing anything. You're not getting anything out of it. I think you guys hit everything on the head there. I got nothing else to add other than Cole Kmet is my guy. He's been my guy. And Peter, I know you said you're going to listen to our next episode. So this one's for you, buddy. Cole Kmet, number 1 tight end over Colson. No, I'm just joking.
I do got one more thing to throw on there. You kind of said, Rob, but DJ Moore being traded this offseason was partly because of what Luther Burden showed. But the other part was the $16 million it saved you and the fact that the Bears kind of needed that money. Now, with Cole Kmet next going into offseason, it's going to be, Bob, about $10 million?
$10 million they'll save.
But we've already been talking about ways they can save next year, whether that's not bringing back Dio, not bringing back Grady Jarrett. Even a guy like Jalen Johnson, to me, is more a potential cut or trade to free up cap. So I still would put Kmet pretty low on that list.
It's not also extension possibilities, too, to reduce that cap next year for Kmet. So it's not just you have to trade or cut him. Right. I will say, as far as this ESPN article goes, though, I know like Courtney Cronin seems to be a kind of love or hate personality in Chicago media. I think she did a good job here. The way this article is structured is other sports writers came up with 4 different trade proposals, and she had to determine what would be best. And she said, no, we're not trading Cole Kmet. Like, we're just not going to do it. It doesn't make any sense. So at least she's not perpetrator or whatever he's propagating this rumor. She's saying, hey, let's talk about it. But no, the Bears aren't going to do it. So good on Courtney Cronin on this one.
I don't understand why people are so against Courtney Cronin.
I don't know either, but I see a lot of hate. I mean, I guess I could make an obvious guess of why, but like
she might listen to Halas Huddle. I mean, she seems well informed on Cole Kmet, so
she is fantastic. She's literally on Around the Horn all the time. She was on like the Pardon My Take or whatever just recently. I mean, she is on so much stuff in ESPN. She does a great job. She knows what she's talking about. The whole women can't talk sports. I mean, Mina Kimes, like, I think it just kind of knocks that whole thing out of there. It's just frustrating. But also maybe because she came from Minnesota, like she used to be one of the Vikings beat people. So maybe people still hold that against her. I don't know. All I know is that she does a really good job. I don't always agree with everything she says, but I think she does a pretty good job.
I'm going to go with the layup obvious answer that Bob
Yeah, I mean, that's what it is. And to that point, there's a lot of guys out there who I don't agree with all the stuff they say either. So,
Yeah.
I think she does.
Colin Coward. Skip Bayless.
If you can't trade Cole Kmet, then you have to trade Tyson Bagent, right?
Man, we are hitting these segues out of the park.
So I will say this one actually like perked my ears. I was like, oh, that's very interesting. So this one was more, it was a Colts centered, like Anthony Richardson, who they got Daniel Jones and the Colts now. So Anthony Richardson was, what are the Colts going to do with him? And then the Bears were one potential offer. And it was just a straight up swap Tyson Bagent for Anthony Richardson. And it just blew my mind that was even like a possibility, because now you're talking about potential versus kind of what you already, solid backup at Bagent. So, who wants to go this one first? How are we going to tackle this one? Justin, got his hand up first, Rob.
You go, Rob. Go ahead.
Oh, so my whole thing is, look, when you look at these two players, Anthony Richardson is by far the more dynamic player, right? Like, he has all these tools, but he doesn't know how to use them. He he makes these boneheaded mistakes. He thinks he can do certain things, and that doesn't even account for the fact that he's got this nasty injury history now, right? There is no reason in hell, like, the world would have to be ending, and the only way to save the world would have to be to trade Tyson Bagent for Anthony Richardson. That'd be the only way I could get on board with this. It makes zero sense to me. I'm not a Tyson Bagent, like, ooh, rah, rah, he's my guy. But, like, look, what I do love about him is his work ethic, the way that he helps, he is a leader in that clubhouse too. Like, he is a leader in that locker room, even as a backup quarterback. There are many players who look up to him, and he's so young too at this point. The relationship that he has built with Caleb Williams too. Like, if you're going to get rid of anyone, you can trade his dad.
I just want to know what scenario the world would depend on that trade. But
nuclear bombs.
Unless you trade Tyson Bagent to the Colts.
Now, I was actually, I don't know if excited is the right word, but you could have convinced me that trading him this offseason that just passed for a second-round pick, which was kind of a rumor that was out there, I would have strongly considered that. But to trade him for Anthony Richardson makes zero sense. What you want in a backup quarterback is a guy that can just come in for a game or two or three or four at the most and just stabilize you. And Bagent is probably that to a T. I don't want him to play 17 games. I mean, I think he's entering the realm where he could do that, but he should do that not in Chicago. But to trade for a guy that has question marks and ups and downs, like, that is not what you need in a backup. It makes zero sense. If it was for a pick, that's something. But straight up for Anthony Richardson, 0 out of 100 for me. Even if the world depended on it, I say, well, we should just end it then, guys.
So there were two things with this I thought were very interesting. One, Justin, you already kind of touched on. When Tyson Bagent's names were dropped in trade rumors earlier this offseason, it was like, could we get a second-round pick for him, third-round pick for him? The Bears trade offers Tyson Bagent for Richardson, but the other trade offers are a fifth round in 2027, fourth round, fifth round. So that's basically what they're saying Tyson Bagent's trade value is really just a fourth or fifth round pick. And I'm definitely keeping my solid, dependable backup quarterback instead of trading him for fourth round pick. But the other interesting one is, like, the Minnesota Vikings are on this list to trade a fifth round pick for Anthony Richardson. I think that makes a lot of sense for the Vikings because they're trying to take a swing with Kyler Murray. They still have J.J. McCarthy. And you got this quarterback whisperer as a coach who might be able to come and take Anthony Richardson as your third-string quarterback. And if that works, now look at that quarterback room that they have in Minnesota. So I'm not advocating that the Bears necessarily do that now, but I would love for Ben Johnson and this offensive machine that he's just kind of building here to eventually get to that point where quarterbacks want to come here and learn what it's like to really play quarterback in the NFL under Ben Johnson.
You're forgetting a quarterback in Minnesota. 9.
J.J. McCarthy.
Didn't I say J.J. McCarthy?
Yeah, but no, his dual personality is 9. So, like, it's two different people, right?
That wouldn't.
Well, hopefully the listeners understood my joke. I will say one thing though. Look, there's a possibly a quarterback needy team in Arizona who could potentially, like, they were one of the teams we talked about, could be a target. Now, there's also rumors that Josh Sweat might be on the outs there. Like, would you trade Tyson Bagent for Josh Sweat straight up?
I would trade Tyson Bagent for someone who would play 60% of the snaps on defense.
Same.
Yes.
Same. Mark Carman would cry, but that's okay.
Yes. Do you think Mark Carman would save the world if it meant trading Tyson Bagent?
No, he would let
I
it
already
burn.
told you I wouldn't, so.
No, Mark Carman would let it burn. 100%. I'll ask him. I'll text him tomorrow and find out.
There you go.
So the final piece of fodder, that's what I'll call these things at this point in the offseason, just to get us talking, and to Bob's point, here we are talking about it, was the idea that the NFL parity and first to last, last to first, it happens, right? So of the 8 division winners last season, 7 of them were brand new, meaning they hadn't won in 2024. So the question was, let's rank the teams on how likely it is that they'll defend their division championship. Out of 8 teams, Bears were 4th. Now, Halas Huddlers, before you get upset about this, I will just quickly read you the list. They had Pittsburgh Steelers as the number 1 most likely team not to defend. I agree. Carolina Panthers, number 2. Okay. New England Patriots, they went to the Super Bowl, but with the very easiest schedule, blah, blah, blah. And then it was your Chicago Bears. Now, the teams they said are less likely would be Denver Broncos, Jacksonville Jaguars, Seattle Seahawks, and Philadelphia Eagles. So to you guys, I ask, is that a fair place to put the Bears?
I think it's fair, and I think it actually might be generous, mostly just considering the strength of the NFC North. I mean, you're going to tell me the Vikings couldn't get back to 11, 12 wins, especially with actually the Lions ended up getting the last place schedule, right? But with the third place schedule, the Lions with the last place schedule, but still all that talent, and the Packers are still the Packers. I mean, they're going to win 10 games, whatever. Like I know, but there's still some respect for what they're able to do if there's an organization. And so, yeah, to say that there's a lot of metrics out there. The Bears' point differential wasn't all that great. They had so many. They had a great record in 1-score games. That usually comes down back to earth the next season. So there's a lot of just very cherry-picking things or low-hanging fruit to say that the Bears are going to come back down to earth. And so the fact that they still think, there's 3 teams that have a higher chance of not repeating, I think that bodes well for the Bears.
2 of those teams were rough, though. I mean, Carolina, did any team in that division go over 500 last season, or what? Maybe they were just 9-8 or something?
I think they were 9-8. Tampa was 8-9.
Standings up for this segment.
If I'm remembering correctly,
were 8-9. Tampa was 8-9. Atlanta was 8-9.
So it's like the opposite of what you just said for the Bears. With the Bears, I could honestly make an argument for any team finishing 1 and any team finishing 4th. And I guess you could say that in the NFC South, although it's because they're all bad.
It's crazy how details you forget after just a few months. Detroit was 4th in the NFC North, and they finished 9-8.
Right.
So all 4 teams were above 500.
Exactly.
And in the NFC South, they're all below.
Now, in the article, it talks about how Seattle, who they had as second most likely to defend, the team that's betting odds right now to win the Super Bowl is actually the Rams and are in your division. And they cited it's a tough division, but you still have the Cardinals in there. You know what I mean? And in the NFC North, there's no Cardinals. I don't think that's Minnesota, guys. I mean, they're a serious team with a good coach, a great roster. Unfortunately for them, the question mark is at quarterback. And if they figure that out even partially, they're a tough team, as is every other team in the division. So I kind of agree with you there, Bob. I'm glad they were at least given more respect than teams like Carolina and Pittsburgh, but it's probably about fair.
Yeah, when I saw the list, I was like 4. Like that's great. I think, Bob, you said maybe it's a little generous. I don't know if I'll say generous though, because I could argue that, look, the Chiefs could come back to life, right? The Chargers have a really good team. Like the fact that Denver's, right there. And I don't remember what, how close the betting odds were between the Bears and Denver. But I would have to assume it's pretty close, right? Like that's also a tough division. But then to your point, they also have the Raiders, right? So it's like, you don't have to worry about the Raiders necessarily, unless Mendoza just figures it out right away. I can't imagine it happens. They're the Raiders. But What was the other one that was right behind them?
Eagles.
No, the Eagles were last, right?
Oh.
Seattle, who was
Jaguars?
Jaguars. I could see that. I could see the Texans taking over that division too, right? Like the Jaguars had an unbelievable season last year. It wasn't, what I expected them to do. They are like a legit team as well, but I could easily see the Texans winning that division. Look, the Colts were 8-1 before Daniel Jones went down. Like the NFL is a league of parity. It's supposed to be this way. It's what's supposed to make it more fun. You just want to be one of those teams that is consistently winning, whether you're winning your division or at least making the playoffs. And we have not had that in such a long time. I don't care if the Bears win the North as long as they are a playoff team. That's all I care about.
So, Rob, what you just said there had me thinking. And if you had to put the arrow on the Bears, and I'm not just saying like your record, but just where you're headed as an organization, I think you have to put the arrow up. Whereas they said the Eagles are the most likely to defend, and I would say their arrow is flattening out or even possibly going down.
Yeah.
And so other things obviously come into play, your division, we talked about that. But it's a little surprising to me that, and by the way, of the 8 division winners, the only one that was a repeat from the year prior was the Eagles. So this would be basically saying that they're going to win 3 straight. I think Washington could bounce back a little bit. I think Cowboys are always kind of that team. You're not sure how they're going to come out and perform. But I don't think it's going to be a cakewalk for anyone, which is what makes the NFL a beautiful, beautiful sport to follow each and every season.
Yeah, I mean, odds are more than half of these teams on this list aren't going to repeat. So,
you said what? 7 of 8 were new, right? So I will guarantee you the Browns do not win that division.
Bold.
Which one?
The Browns.
Bold, Rob.
Oh, with the AFC North?
Yeah, not going to win.
Okay. I'll give you that the Jets won't win the AFC East. How about that?
Very bold.
For more bold predictions like that, follow us here on the Halas Huddle. Subscribe, like, comment.
Help us get to 2,000 subscribers. You guys lasted through this episode. You enjoyed hearing the banter between us, and you're not subscribed. Go ahead and just hit that subscribe now. It really help out the channel.
And go to the comment section. We love comments. We love building the community. We love responding. We love keeping the discussion going. Look, 30 minutes, it seems so short. We could sit here and talk for hours, but we have families. We have jobs. Unfortunately, we can't do that. But what I do is comment back and forth. I know Bob does too. Justin does too. Like we comment back and forth on social media on our YouTube channel. So go into the comment section. It also helps the algorithm. So go in the comment section, leave a comment, whether it's Halas Huddle, Huddle Up, fuck Green Bay. I don't care what it is. Rob, your hat's stupid. Whatever you want to put in there, put it in there. Let's keep the conversation going.
Don't talk crap about my hat. This is a good hat, guys.
It's better than the training camp hats this year. Ugh, they're so bad. All right. Until next time, bear down, claws up.
As after Packers